Jazakallah khair for watching. Please continue to like and share. It really helps the Bayt An-Nur community grow.
Anybody else who gets a really nice car has a feeling, let me drive a little extra slow into the masjid today. Anybody wearing a new suit will say, let me just walk through the hallway one more time. Let me just back around and walk one more time. Anybody wearing new shoes, will they'll meet you and they'll look at their shoe. Hey, you just notice? Oh yeah, new shoes, yeah. Anybody who just got a degree, for some reason wearing like the university hat. Oh, you, Harvard? Yeah. How'd you know? So today I'm going to take on a challenging problem in the Qur'an. And I'll first explain the problem to you. I think everybody here knows what confidence is, right? And I think everybody here also knows what arrogance is, right? So there's two words I used in English now, confidence and arrogance, right? And how do you know if your behavior is confidence or it's turned into arrogance? Because they seem very similar. Somebody who's very confident can actually seem like they're also very arrogant. And it might be that they're just being confident, but they're coming across as extremely arrogant. And the thing in the Qur'an about this line between these two is that Allah describes a number of people that are extremely arrogant. Starting with Iblis, istakbara, he demonstrated arrogance. So Allah describes Iblis as the first arrogant one. But beyond istikbar of Iblis, the people who disbelieved in the prophets, one of the common themes among all of them is arrogance. But then there are certain individuals that Allah highlights as almost, they call them, the big word in English is archetypes. Easier word for you guys to understand is a case study. You know, like when you're studying any science, there's a case study. If you're a law student, they'll have a case study, right? If you're a medical student, there are case studies, right? The same way in the Qur'an, if you want to understand the concept of arrogance, there are case studies. And the case studies, the ultimate case study is Fir'aun. Like he keeps coming up as the ultimate poster child for arrogance. And then beyond that, there are some other people, like for example, Qarun comes up quite a bit, or a couple of times at least, as a case study for arrogance, right, for kibr. The Quraysh are being talked to. You have to understand, when the Qur'an was revealed, the Quraysh were not some historical people, they were the ones listening right in front. So this is live commentary, you understand? So we're not talking about the live commentary. So I'm not talking about Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl and those arrogant people, because they're not live examples. Those are not historical examples, those are live examples. I'm talking about the historical examples, right? So on top of all of them would probably be Fir'aun and then, Qarun and just a handful of people, right? But what about confidence? Does the Qur'an also have stories of confidence? Because we in our head we have two opposites. Either you are arrogant or you are humble. That's in our head. Either you're arrogant or you're what? Humble. And before I go on, I want you to actually understand 4 terms. I have only given you 2 terms in English. I've given you arrogance, I've given you confidence. The third one is humility, and the last one is humiliation. So let me see if you remember that. What 4 terms am I giving you? No, what's on the worst end? Arrogance, then confidence, then humility, then. So what are the 2 extremes? Arrogance and humiliation. And let me just explain those 2. Arrogance has many definitions, but one of them is, I'm better than you, I know more than you, I have more money than you, why should you get the job, why shouldn't I get the job, why are you in the first row, I should have been in the first row, why do you have the mic on, I should have the mic on, etc., etc. That's arrogance. Yeah? That's one kind of arrogance. On the extreme end is humiliation. I am nothing, I am worthless, ya akhi, I am a faqir, I'm a gharib, I'm a ajib, I'm a, And you have somebody, maybe there's one time you guys come for salah and only a few people are in the masjid and one of you is a hafiz Qur'an and they say, can you please leave no, yeah, I cannot, ya akhi, I'm a faqir, I'm a gharib, I'm a ajib. We think you're a gharib too, and we think you're ajib also, but you memorize the Qur'an, so please lead the prayer. Like, you're just unnecessarily humiliating yourself and saying, I'm nothing, I'm no one, I'm this and that. And sometimes people come up to me and say, Ustad, I'm a really bad person. I've done so much haram in my life. I'm worthless to Allah. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. I know Allah will not listen to my dua. Why are you humiliating yourself? Why are you doing that to yourself? Right? So on the one hand is arrogance, one extreme, and on the other end is also what? Humiliation. And Allah does not want us to be arrogant, and also Allah does not want us to humiliate ourselves. He doesn't expect that from us. So some people confuse humility with humiliation. And some people confuse confidence with arrogance. So we have to understand the spectrum, right? The two extremes are the ones we want to avoid, and we want to be in the middle. The two good qualities that the Qur'an celebrates are confidence and humility. Now the problem with those two is they seem like they're opposites. How can you be humble and confident at the same time? Because if you're being confident, that doesn't sound very humble. So I can't cover the entire subject with you, but I'll give you enough homework to think about. I'm going to introduce you to 4 prophets in the Qur'an, or at least 3 of them are prophets, one of them may not be, that are the example of confidence in the Qur'an. The prime 4 examples of confidence in the Qur'an. And we're going to look at some basic observations about each of them. The top example is going to be Sulaiman alayhi salam. That's the most confident would be Sulaiman alayhi salam. And underneath that you can probably put Dhul-Qarnayn. Dhul-Qarnayn would be an example of confidence also. Then you have Dawud alayhi salam. And then you could also add Yusuf alayhi salam. So I'll say that from the top to bottom: Sulaiman, Dhul-Qarnayn, Dawud, and Yusuf. Now why did I pick these 4 people? You know what these 4 people have in common in the Qur'an? They all have power. They all have power. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was the governor of Medina, wasn't he? But the munafiqun were disobeying him left, right, and center, were they not? So he had governance, but he still didn't have absolute power. If you compare him, for example, to Sulaiman, even the jinn cannot mess with Sulaiman alayhi salam. The munafiqun can run their mouth in Medina, and the Prophet ﷺ cannot say anything. Even Allah has to come to defend the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and say, "La takunu kalladhina adaw Musa." Don't be, those of you who believe, don't be like the people who hurt Musa. Meaning, some of the things the munafiqun were saying were hurting the Prophet ﷺ, even though he's their leader. But when you get to the story of Sulaiman, a bird shows up late and the bird is in trouble. You know. And the jinn, he died already, alayhi salam. He died, and the jinn are still scared of him because they don't think he's dead yet. This is a different level of power, isn't it? So clearly Sulaiman alayhi salam has an incredible amount of power. Dhul-Qarnayn is a very important case study of power in the Qur'an. And then of course Dawud alayhi salam was given mulk, was given hikmah, he's got power. And then of course Yusuf alayhi salam became the minister of Egypt, he had power. So the 4 case studies where people have power are these people. And I'm using them as an example of what? Confidence. Because if you're confident in something, it means you have authority in something. Like if you're confident that you know app development, then you must have some level of power to code. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't get to have any confidence, right? It's empty. How many people here are in the technology space? Show of hands. Okay. Those of you who are in the technology space. When you talk to someone who talks like they're talking about technology, but they actually don't know any technology, I would guarantee you it would take you about 60 seconds before you know this guy has no idea what he's talking about. This is all empty. How many people are in the medical field? I would say about, oh wow, 2 of you. Wow, this is a strange Muslim community. People in business. People in business? Okay, what are the rest of you doing? Are all of you accountants? What's going on here? Whatever field you come from, you can tell who has authority in that field based on the knowledge they have, based on the accomplishments they have. you can tell who knows what. Even in the Islamic field, if you're studying Islam, you're studying Arabic, or you're teaching Arabic, or you're teaching Qur'an, tafsir, hadith, fiqh, history, the general public may not have a lot of knowledge. Anybody comes up, throws 2 words in Arabic, mashallah, you should have seen the way the Arabic words were coming out of his mouth. Oh, so much knowledge was dropping, man. It was like sweat on a hot Texas day is how knowledge was dropping. No, that's easy to impress you because you don't know nothing. With all due respect, I'm sure you know more than I do. But if somebody knows their stuff, they've put the years in to study their deen, and they hear somebody talk and they say, oh my God, what is he saying? What is this train wreck? Right? They could tell the difference. What I'm trying to get at is, to have confidence in anything, you have to have a degree of authority or power in that thing, whether it's knowledge, whether it's experience, whether it's actual power, whether it's ability. Something's got to be there to back up your confidence. You can't get confidence out of thin air like you get on TikTok. You can't just put a camera on and just, hey, let me give you my hot take on what's going on in the world. Okay, what do you know? Right? So, the 4 authorities again, let's see if you remember. At the top, Sulaiman, ultimate example. Then, Dhul-Qarnayn. Then, Dawud alayhi salam. Then, okay. With this in mind, your homework assignment is going to be, you're going to read the stories of these people on your own. You're going to find them in the Qur'an wherever they are. And you're going to look for how is Allah talking about their confidence. I'll give you just some pointers. I'll give you 1 or 2 for each, but I won't go into detail. That's on you. You got to do the work, okay? And I'm confident you can do it, okay? So let's begin with Yusuf. Let's start at the bottom. Let's begin with Yusuf alayhi salam. He was given, when he came out of prison, when he came out of prison, he was being called to the king's court. Astakhlishu li nafsi. I want to put him exclusively under my service. The king was so impressed with this man for interpreting the dreams that he said, I want him to be my exclusive advisor, my personal advisor. I've met with government officials before, and if you meet with the president or you meet with the prime minister, there's usually like 20 people around. And if you try to talk to him, they're all like, why is he talking to him directly? And then later on, they'll come and tell you, why were you talking to the president like that? Next time, make sure I'm in the room. There's the person in power, then there's the hawks around him, and then there's you. You can't get to him directly because all these people get insecure, right? So they basically block anybody from actually having direct access to the king, right? So this happens in presidents and their cabinets. The cabinet members are doing everything. The poor guy on top knows nothing. Some of you run businesses, you have 300-400 employees, 20 employees, 50 employees. You have a VP, you have a manager. The manager is controlling all the communications. You might not even know what's going on in your own business. And the employees want to talk to you, and the manager says, hey, talk to me. When the king says, I'm going to put him exclusively in contact with me, he doesn't say, call him and get my secretary to take his email address down so I can stay in touch. No. He's got direct access. This is pretty powerful. Astakhlishu li nafsi. And Yusuf alayhi salam very confidently says, no, I ain't coming. What happened with those ladies 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 50, I don't know how many years ago? I want that case to be reopened before I take this job. He's sitting in prison. You're thinking, why is somebody sitting in prison is not in a position to negotiate? He'll take it. Even getting out of prison would be amazing. He's not just getting out of prison. He's getting a cabinet position next to the king of Egypt. And he's like, no, I want to clear my name first. Call those ladies. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in this job. And the king, what kind of confidence is this? Where did that confidence come from? I just told you, to have confidence, you have to have some authority. He knows that his knowledge is authoritative. He knows what he's talking about. That's his power. And that power gave him what? Confidence. You need me. I don't need you. You need me. So you're going to fulfill my demands. You're going to meet my conditions. You're going to call those ladies. We're going to have a trial again. And call the minister while you're at it too. The guy who I used to work for, who got me thrown in jail and then forgot all about me. Let's call him too. So there's a trial. Now after all that trial, At the end of, so his name has been cleared, alayhi salam. His name has been cleared. He just came out of jail, okay? We don't know how long he was in jail. Where was he before he was in jail? Does anybody know? Before he was thrown in jail, what was he doing? What was his career? He was a servant, a slave. Before that, let's go further back in his resume. Because you know when you go for an interview, you have to have a resume, right? And you should be confident in your resume, right? 5 years work experience, 10 years, whatever. So what does his resume say? 20 years in jail, 15 years in jail. Okay, what were you doing before then? Let's see, maybe you were a professor. Maybe you understood, world economics. You understood macroeconomic policy. You understood politics. You've done a PhD in, global relations, Egyptian history. So, yeah, I was a slave. I used to get the groceries for my master, clean the house. I have a lot of experience, taking care of the animals. Oh, okay. All right, so let's go further back. What was that? Oh, I was in a child slave market. They were selling me like they sell goats. Oh, okay. Let's go further back. Oh yeah, I'm a foreigner. I used to live in a different country. I don't even know where that is anymore. I'm not even a citizen. That's his resume. And when he's in front of the king, next to the king is his military advisor, his economic advisor, his policy advisor, these cabinet ministers. They've been doing their job for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. You imagine, yeah? And he stands in that room after he's been exonerated and he says, اجعل لي على خزائن الأرض. Put me in charge of the treasury. I need to become the treasurer of Egypt. I should be in charge of the entire economy of Egypt. And you're looking at this like, with what resume? Like, wow, what qualifications do you, how are you? And then he said, he didn't stop there. إني حفيظ عليم. I am the one that will guard this job, and I'm the one who knows what he's doing. What does that sound like? That's confidence. Not only is it confidence, there are people with decades of experience, and in their presence he's saying, I'm the one who will take care of this job, and I'm the one who knows, as if to say, all of these fools don't know what they're doing. If you need to save lives in this country, because people are going to die if I don't take over the economy right now. That's confidence. But that confidence came from what? It didn't come from the years. And let's go back to those years. When he was a slave, when he was being sold kidnapped and sold, you can call that the black market, yeah? So he understands the criminal world. He understands how the children are traded, how they're kidnapped, how they're stolen. He knows the underworld. When he's taken into the house of the minister, he knows the working class. He knows the minimum wage people. He knows the slave laborers, doesn't he? He knows the conversations that happen in the marketplace. He knows the lives of the slaves. And because he works in the house of the minister, he knows when the minister goes on in public and gives a press release, he sounds like a different man. When he's in his living room talking to his wife and talking to his friends about what he really wants to do, it's a different guy. That's not going to be, unless you have a recorder and you want to WikiLeak that thing, nobody's going to know what he's really thinking, because you get the official press release. Is the official press release the same as what goes on inside behind closed doors? Never. What does Yusuf have access to? While he's cleaning the house, while he's taking care of, he has access to the inside information of what the ministers really like, what the politicians are really like, what the corruption is really like, what their families are like. He knows that. Then he gets thrown in jail. He knows the criminal justice system. He knows who's in jail, which gangs, who they got on the outside, how the smuggling works, how the criminal world, he knows all of it. And now they're about to head into an economic crisis. And when there's an economic crisis, there's a lot of corruption. Politicians are corrupt, criminals are corrupt, the workers become corrupt, everybody's trying to steal. And the only one who can solve or deal with this crisis is someone who understands the inside of every one of those pieces. If the CEO is just there to sign the check and he's not checking every transaction and checking every business deal and everything, can you get away with stuff? Yeah. He says, look, these people don't know. I know this society. You guys don't know. I can do this job. The first thing we're learning with Yusuf alayhi salam's confidence is experience can build confidence. You should be learning from your experience and drawing from your experience. And that is part of what gives you confidence. So you and I should be thinking about what are our experiences and what have they taught us? And how can we utilize them? There's another interesting, I could go on for Yusuf alayhi salam for 3 hours, so we got 3 more people to go through. But I'll say one last thing about Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam is also careful with his power. He's confident, but he's not like, oh well, you know, I have power now, I can do whatever I want. He's very careful. He'll take one of his brothers, when he sees him, secretly pulls him in. He doesn't expose to everybody, that's my brother. Tells him privately, that's my brother. Isn't he being careful? He's the minister of Egypt. People come to him for money. People come to him for permission. He's basically running the country, but still he's very, very careful. Why? Because even though he's confident, he knows power is weak. Power comes and power goes. And if I'm reckless, it can just go in a second. So he's in a position of power. He's confident, but cautious. So part of what the Qur'an is teaching us about confidence is confidence doesn't make you reckless. And confidence doesn't make you just, oh, I can do whatever I want. No. You still got to act responsibly. Okay? So that's just a quick 2 things about Yusuf alayhi salam. Who was next? Dawud alayhi salam. What you learn from Dawud, Allah says about Dawud alayhi salam, أَتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْمُلْكَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ وَعَلَّمَهُ مِمَّا يَشَاءُ. Allah gave him power, Allah gave him wisdom, taught him whatever he wanted. Very briefly, I'll tell you, Dawud alayhi salam has a lot of power that Allah gave him. He was even taught to speak the language of birds, along with his son. According to one tafsir of عُلِّمْنَا مَنْطِقَ الطَّيْرِ. So both Dawud and his son Sulaiman, we'll get to Sulaiman a little bit later, alayhi salam, they even know how to speak to birds. And he does a special kind of tasbih of Allah that even the mountains sing alongside with him. What we learn from him is, just because you have a lot of power, and to have power you got to be tough. Because you cannot be in a position of leadership and be soft. You got to deal with all kinds of personalities, you got to deal with all kinds of problems, so you have to be tough. But just because you're tough in your leadership role doesn't mean you don't have a soft heart with Allah. He's still doing tasbih, he's still singing the praise of Allah. There's this soft side to him. Right? There's a spiritual side to him. So confidence, at the same time, humility and ibadah to Allah is seen in the character of Dawud alayhi salam. I'll add one more thing to the remarkable personality of Dawud alayhi salam that I really love. Allah made him a constant learner. Allah taught him how to bend metal. Allah taught him how to judge cases by way of 2 angels showing up in his court. And he learned something from that experience. It seems that his confidence makes him not shy of learning new things. And let me explain why this is important for you and me. I'm up here with a mic on me. After the talk, somebody comes and says, by the way, you missed something. You need to learn this. You need to read this book. I have 2 options. Bro, who's got the mic, you or me? Who got more YouTube views, you or me? Who are you gonna tell me? Or I'm going to say, what's the book? You've read it? You enjoyed it? Okay, I need to go through this book. Thank you. Why? Because real confidence makes a person constantly learn without hesitation. Like they're okay with saying, I don't know. They're okay with saying, I learned something new. They're okay with saying, this person taught me, that person taught me, that person taught me. They don't have to say, oh, the only way I will learn is someone higher than me. They can learn from a taxi driver. They can learn from someone who's just walking by. They can learn from a child. Real confidence means you don't think it's beneath you to learn something. And it's not beneath you to learn something from someone who the world thinks is under you. Somebody who's younger than you, you can learn from them. Someone who's studying, it could be a student of mine, and I learned something from my student. I'm technically above them, but I'm learning from them. Somebody who knows less than you, somebody who has less money than you, somebody who has less experience than you, somebody who has less power than you, and you can learn from them. They can teach you something. And you learn in Dawud alayhi salam's case that he's continuously learning. And learning is a huge part of confidence. And by the way, if you compare it, arrogant people feel that they have no need to what? learn. They already know. In fact, their attitude is, oh, you're going to teach me? You're going to teach me? How are you going to teach me? I already know. In fact, even if they don't know, it hurts them so bad to admit it, they say, yeah, I know that. I already knew that. I knew that when I was 6 months old. The book was published last year, but I still already knew it. So real confidence makes you a lifelong learner, hesitation-free. Hesitation-free, you're just continuously learning. So from Yusuf we learn cautious confidence. From Dawud alayhi salam we're learning continuous learning. And that gives you even more confidence. You're not ashamed to admit you don't know something. It's completely okay. Then you take the next step. Who's next? Dhul-Qarnayn. We learn something else from him. We learn strategy. We learn you have to be strategic. When you have power and you say, look, I had a problem and I solved it. They came to me with problem and I used solution A that I came up with, and solution A solved this problem. Now I'm confident that solution A works. Anytime somebody has a problem, I'm going to give them solution A. And then somebody says, why are you using solution A? Because I've used it before, I'm confident that it works. Yeah, but this is a different case. Maybe we need a different approach. No, you don't know. I know, I've already used it before. This works. I'm going to use this every... Dhul-Qarnayn makes how many stops in Surah Al-Kahf? Makes 3 stops. In the first stop, he stops in a new place. He's never been there before. And he says, I'm going to establish law and order here. This is how I will deal with the criminals. This is how I will deal with good citizens. I will set up a government here and set up a civilization here and bring law and order to this society. That is his solution for this place. Then he goes to another place. Matla' al-Shams. And he sees people that are so backwards, they almost, he doesn't understand. They don't even know how to build shelter. They don't even know how to put a roof over their head. They're that behind. And he's thinking, I need solution A, law and order. We're going to clean up these streets. Wait, they don't even know how to make streets. We're going to clean house. Oh wait, they ain't got a house. What am I going to do here? And he realizes this place is not good for solution A. It doesn't apply. You ever fill out a form where it says not applicable? And he says, whatever solutions I have, none of them can help these people. I'm confident enough to say, and honest enough to say, I don't have a solution for these people. So what does Allah say? كَذَلِكَ. He left them the way they were. He didn't apply the same solution from the first stop. You would think that's what he does when he goes everywhere. Like America brings democracy everywhere it goes, right? It works perfectly every time. Right? Wherever America goes, they bring this democracy from Jannah and they drop it to the people, and everybody gets a taste of, khalidina fiha. And the world becomes a better place every time. And then they say, now we're going to give this gift to you, enjoy. And because they're so confident that it works so well in so many places that they're like, this is what we got to give the world. This is what the world needs. Dhul-Qarnayn says, hey, that worked over there, but it's not going to work over here. This is a different situation. We cannot use the same strategy. By the way, the Roman Empire used to have a certain strategy for expansion. One of the greatest empires in history, right? And they kept expanding and they kept using the same solution, franchising and expanding, and that actually became one of the great reasons for the collapse of the Roman Empire, because they weren't versatile enough to understand different situations, different people. And it collapsed. The empire collapsed. The British collapsed the same way. Now, he makes a third stop. Third stop, people come to him and say, you seem to have a military, you know how to establish law and order, you know how to fight crime. We have these crazy people, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they come from this valley, they kill, they steal, they rob. Can you help? Can you help? And he could have said, I've seen criminals before, and I bring them to justice. I fight them and I bring them to justice. فَسَوْفَ نُعَذِّبُهُ ثُمَّ يُرَدُّ إِلَى رَبِّهِ فَيُعَذِّبُهُ عَذَابًا نُكْرًا. That was solution A. There's also solution B. What was solution B? Leave him alone. But he's in the third location. He could do solution B, leave him alone, which America eventually did with Afghanistan after trying solution A. Actually, they tried solution A, then they realized they are Ya'juj and Ma'juj, then they did solution B. Okay, leave him alone. You know what, I gotta go. But then you've got the third situation. And he says, I'm not gonna fight these people. I'm not gonna fight these criminals. Because this will be an ongoing war. It will create more problems than solutions. We need a new solution. You know what that is? We're going to try to contain this problem. We're going to build a wall. And I'm not going to build it for you. You people, I'm going to teach you people how to build it. Atuni zubar al-hadid. Bring me these sheets of metal. Bring me the copper. Let me show you how to make it. Why? Because once you make it, Ya'juj and Ma'juj will come from the other side and they'll try to break the wall, cut through the wall, they'll damage the wall, and every time it gets damaged, you're going to end up texting me, hey, WhatsApp, hey, can you come back? The wall, I'll send you a picture right now, it's a little cracked. Can you come back? No, you got to learn to fix that yourself. So let me show you how to build it so you know how to what? How to fix it yourself, because I can't be here, I got other places, I got to conquer the world, so I got to go. But this solution is for you. This is the best solution for this. What do we learn from Dhul-Qarnayn? Confidently, he doesn't make one solution for every problem. He analyzes each situation and comes up with a new solution, and that does not take away from his confidence. His advisors say, oh, what happened? You think you did the wrong strategy the last time? No. That was a good strategy for that situation. This was a good strategy for this situation. And if you combine these lessons, what happens? Maybe you will apply the wrong strategy. Is that possible? That we applied a strategy, it was the wrong strategy? What do we learn from Dawud alayhi salam? You got to learn. Now you learned. And now you got to make a better strategy. You can't say too big to fail. We got to keep doing it. We got to keep going. It's a fail, but we got to keep moving. No. You got to rethink. So that's the case of Dawud, of Dhul-Qarnayn. Pretty interesting. And then finally we get to Sulaiman, which is, it deserves a thing by itself. It deserves a halaqah. I know it's 30 minutes, I lied. But I'm just I'll tell you the thing that will confuse you. I want to leave you with confusion so you solve it yourself. You read Qur'an. So I'll share it with you. I'll give you a scenario. Imagine that I run a business and I offered somebody a job. I sent them a letter or I sent them an email. Hey, I'd like to hire you as my driver. Okay? I sent him a letter. And I don't get a response. Next thing I know, I come out of my house and there's a couple of security guards that are with sunglasses on, and they're a big giant Escalade, and they want me to get in the SUV. And they drive me to a helicopter. And the helicopter takes me to a private island. And they show me this mansion on the private island, and I'm going around and all these gardeners and whatever else is going on. And then they finally say, yeah, sir, he'll see you now. And I go in and it's the guy that I was trying to hire as my driver. It's his mansion. And he goes, so you wanted me to drive your Camry? Is that your Camry? I flew it in. And I'm looking at this like, you didn't have to do that. I didn't know who I was messing with. I'm sorry. I didn't know, but it seems like a pretty arrogant thing to do, bro. Like you flew me all the way out here just to put me in my place. Helicopter, Escalade, island. You airlifted my car and brought it here just to show me how dumb I was? To ask you to be my driver? Sorry, man. I'm not talking about myself, am I? Anybody familiar with the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam? What did he do with this queen? He calls her over and she shows up at it. First she tries to give him gifts. Doesn't send him gifts. And he got offended by the gifts. Read Surah An-Naml. I won't read it for you. You're going to read it. Surah An-Naml. He gets offended by the gifts. Oh, you're going to send me gifts. Oh, I'm going to show you. Why don't we just carry... You think I'm after your throne? No. I don't need your throne. And if I wanted your throne, I could have it. I don't got to go to your throne. I'll bring your throne to me. And he brings the throne. The jinn Ifrit brings the throne. She comes there, and by the way, qila, the word qila is used. He didn't say, by the way, does that look like your throne? Huh? He's so powerful and he's so confident, he doesn't even bring it up. The ayah says, qila, it was said. There's multiple ways to think about this. The way I think about this is, imagine that he did this boss move, right? He brought the throne. She's here, and she's like, and all the people who work for Sulaiman alayhi salam was like, oh, what's gonna happen? It's gonna be. And they're like, oh, it's on now. Let's capture her reaction. This is gonna go viral. But Sulaiman alayhi salam, is he going, oh my God, I can't wait to see the look on her face? No, he's too cool for that kind of. He's just, let me just show you around. Not a flinch, not even. So, notice anything? No, nothing. But some of the employees, some of the people who work in the court are so excited. So it says, the ayah says, qila, it was said. Lam yaqul qala, he said. It was said, meaning some other people said, hey, does that look like your throne? And she goes, ka'annahu. Oh my God, it's like it's exactly the same. It's almost like it is the throne. And then it dawns on her, what is this? What's going on here? There's another scene of the same story where she's walking on a palace of water. You can imagine there's an aquarium under the glass. So when you walk on the glass, it feels like you're walking on water, and there's fish underneath you, and she didn't know that she's about to step into glass. It looks like she's about to step on water, so she lifted her dress just a little to stand. And the thing with kings and queens is they don't lift their dress. It's a show of humility, because when you're lifting, you're trying to protect yourself, right? And if you've already lifted, because she lifted her dress to put her foot in, that was actually a show of her being careful, which means you need protecting from this surface, which is a show of lack of power. So actually she was being humbled by Sulaiman. Just from that walk, she was being humbled by Sulaiman alayhi salam. And her throne is sitting right there. So there's multiple power plays in that story, right? But then that sounds a lot like arrogance. That doesn't sound like confidence. So I can see the confidence. You can see the confidence easily in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Easily in the story of Dawud, the learner, right? The learner, the cautiously confident. The one who's confident in their knowledge, who in the service of people. In the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, the strategist. These are all great qualities. But in the case of Sulaiman alayhi salam, bring her throne. Let me show her, she thinks she's got bling, let me show her an aquarium with a glass floor. Let me have her lift her dress a little bit so she thinks she's stepping on water. Let me put her in her place. If anybody else did that, like the guy who flew over my Camry, you'd say that's arrogance. Then what is going on with Sulaiman alayhi salam? What kind of confidence is this? That's the question. What kind of confidence is this? Now I could tell you, or I could bother you. No, I'll tell you a little bit. Then I'll let you go. 5 minutes, I'll be done. This time I'm not lying. I'm confident I'll be done in 5 minutes. Here's the thing. Allah gives different people different strengths and different weaknesses. Some people are very strong at controlling their feelings, controlling their tongue. Some people don't have that ability. Some people are physically very strong. Physically, they're able to do amazing things. You can't even dream of doing things that they're able to do with their body. Some people have amazing calculation in their mind is like a calculator. Allah gives people some super abilities sometimes. But those same people that have super ability in one thing may have weakness in something else. You will notice that in the story of Sulaiman, he has a super ability. You know what that is? No matter how much power he has in his hand and how much he shows that power to achieve a certain objective, it's never done for his own ego. He can separate the show of power, the demonstration, the humbling of someone else, all of it, and none of it affects his ego. He's got this amazing mulk that Allah has given him, right? But it seems like Allah has given him an amazing mulk over his own nafs. Anybody else who gets a really nice car has a feeling, let me drive a little extra slow into the masjid today. Anybody wearing a new suit will say, let me just walk through the hallway one more time. Let me just back around and walk one more time. Nobody noticed. Anybody wearing new shoes, they'll meet you and they'll look at their shoe. Hey, you just notice? They'll start tapping their foot unnecessarily. Oh yeah, new shoes, yeah. Anybody who just got a degree, right? For some reason wearing like the university hat. Oh, you, Harvard? Yeah. How'd you know? When you got a little bit of power, you got a little bit of bling, you have this urge to, show it a little bit. And when people graduate from university or get a shahada or get an ijaza, or you took a picture with a sheikh or whatever, the president or whatever, what do people do with these things? They frame them in their house. I want you to meet me, but now meet the certificate. And you will realize who you're dealing with. Huh? You like that? Yeah. That was me. It's not photoshopped. It's legit. So now, understand that Sulaiman alayhi salam can show off a glass palace, can bring a throne, can humble a queen, but he's got a bigger objective than just boosting his ego. His ego is unaffected by any of this. He's actually thinking strategically, I can avoid an entire war with these people, because what's at the top of the house of cards? It's the queen. If the queen can be humbled, the entire nation will be humbled. And the only way to humble people in power is to show them you have more power than them. And so, if she's a queen, let me give her a royal welcome, because she speaks that language. And that way, this will be a political boss move that only a strategist of that level can make. And anybody else, maybe even some of the staff looking at, or her people, the queen's people, show off. They'd look at Sulaiman's behavior and say, look at him showing off. The Qur'an's highlighting all of this. Is Sulaiman alayhi salam showing off? No. But some people need a show for strategic reasons. Some people need a demonstration for strategic reasons. And there are very few people in the world that can have that much power and that much authority and that much wealth and that much ability and that much demonstration to show off, and it still doesn't affect them at all. At all. That's a rare power. And so, if you have that power, imagine, by the way, if you had billions of dollars, can't you do more sadaqah? Aren't you able to do more sadaqah? Okay, but if your heart is not in a good place, then is that sadaqah going to benefit you? No. But if you have billions and your heart is clean, then you beg Allah, Ya Allah, give me billions more, I want to give more. Ya Allah, give me trillions now, I want to give more. Ya Allah, give me zillions, I want to give more. The only place in the Qur'an you will find a dua that's hard to understand. Rabbi habli mulkan la yanbaghi li ahadin min ba'di. My Rabb, give me power, give me kingdom. Sulaiman asks Allah, give me power, give me kingdom that is not appropriate for anyone to have after I die. Ya Allah, you seem to have given me a control over my nafs that I know ain't nobody gonna have it after me. So Ya Allah, give me more than you've given any other human being, so I can use all of it for what? For you, because it doesn't affect me the way it affects other people. I have this, you've given me this special immunity from this problem. Now, you may not be Sulaiman, but maybe Allah has given you immunity to something. Maybe Allah has given you some ability to do something without needing to take the credit for it. But you're good at it. And you don't use it to further your own ego. But you want to accomplish big things because it's bigger than yourself. It's not about you, it's something bigger than yourself. But projecting it, demonstrating it, showing it, making it bigger, doing the branding of it. Isn't it branding, the glass floor? Isn't that branding? Isn't that advertising? You know? Maybe sometimes the advertising, the strategy, the marketing of it, the positioning of it, the bling of it is part of a much bigger objective that has nothing to do with your own personal ego. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. That's the height of confidence. when you can have so much wealth and so much power and so much to show the world, and none of it affects you because you're working on something bigger than yourself? It doesn't affect you at all. That's the ultimate sample of confidence in the Qur'an. Now with that homework assignment, 4 prophets you're going to read about. Which 4 prophets? Or 3 at least prophets. Yusuf, followed by Dawud alayhi salam, followed by Dhul-Qarnayn, not a prophet, could be Dhul-Qarnayn, and then Sulaiman. These 4. When you study these 4, then try on your own to compare them to the arrogant ones. Qarun, Fir'awn. Look at the kinds of things Fir'awn says. Then look at the kinds of things Sulaiman says. Similar context sometimes. Fir'aun would say, أَلَيْسَ لِي مُلْكُ مِصْرَ وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي. Fir'aun said, don't I alone own the kingdom of Egypt? Don't these rivers flow under my feet? Don't these rivers flow under my feet? Sound familiar as far as the imagery is concerned? Here he is using the power over the rivers in Egypt to further his own ego. And Sulaiman has power over water. He has kingdom, and it's not limited to Misr. It's not limited to Misr. Fir'aun is having a hard time controlling Bani Israel, his supposed slaves. And Sulaiman alayhi salam, he doesn't need to keep jinns imprisoned. They can travel and they're still under his control. They're still being controlled by him, right? So I wanted to present this to you because confidence has almost been when I have just common conversations with Muslims, I lied again about the 5 minutes, but conversations with Muslims, it seems like we think confidence is a bad thing. It's not. Arrogance is a bad thing. Confidence is a necessity. It's an absolute, you can't accomplish anything in life without confidence. You need it. And so, the framework for confidence is in these 4 stories. May Allah Azza wa Jal help us to become and to raise confident generations of Muslims that can bring the glory of this deen to the entire world. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.